So when it comes to the best games on the NES, you probably think you know all of them. There's so many great games on the system like The Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Bros. 3, Castlevania, the list goes on and on. But what if I told you that there's a game that deserves to be in your top 10 list? It's probably the most underrated NES title, and it's an open world adventure game. You might be thinking to yourself, well, is it like Zelda in the sort of open world? No, it's like a gritty, sort of modern open world game. You'd probably think I was crazy. But there actually is a game that exists like that, and it's a game called Nightshade. So what is Nightshade all about? Is it worth picking up and adding to your NES collection? Let's find out. So Nightshade plays out sort of like any superhero tale does. There is a guy named Setka who has taken over Metro City and killed the main guy that was giving them protection, named Vortex. Think of him sort of as a Batman. So a guy named Max Gray gets fed up with the crime in the city and he becomes Nightshade. And that's what we get the story from. It's an interesting story that sort of plays out throughout the game. And it's pretty well done. Honestly, there's a lot of funny dialogue that you encounter in the game. It's not a game that takes itself very seriously, but the amount of dialogue and the amount of quality writing that went into the dialogue is pretty impressive for an NES game. I can't really think of another title that really gives this sort of feeling. Now, a reason why I feel that people kind of sleep on Nightshade is how the game starts out. Because although it is a blending of different genres and different styles of gameplay, it immediately looks like a point-and-click game, sort of like a Maniac Mansion. And that's not a bad thing, mind you, but during the NES days, NES gamers weren't really used to that because that was more of a PC-built genre. So when you start the game out, I'll try not to give too many spoilers in this review, but you start the game out and you're basically tied to a chair. There's a candle behind you and there's a bomb that's about to explode. So you have to burn the ropes with the candle to get free of the chair and avoid the bomb. And that sort of sets the precedent for the game. Now when the game starts out, you're basically just looking for clues, why you're there, what's going on, etc., etc. And you feel kind of confined in this little area, but quickly you go into a room and you get into your first fight, and that's when you realize that there's a lot more to this game than just a standard point and click game. There's a one-on-one fighting system that plays sort of like a beat 'em up, and it's pretty fun. And as you explore this area more, you eventually leave and then you are brought into Metro City. And that's where the game really shines in my opinion, because there are 4 different leaders that Setka has that you must take down. And you just basically go about this city and do whatever the hell you want. You want to talk to a certain person, you want to take a side quest, there's tons of side quests in there. I remember I was just walking around the city basically trying to figure out what I was doing next, and I came across a lady who was in a burning building and I had to go save her. And doing things like that actually rewards you in this game. You have something called a popularity meter, and the higher your popularity meter is, the more missions you'll have available to you and the better people will see you and the more they'll be willing to help you. So there is an incentive about going and doing these good deeds. And the open world aspect is really fun. Like I said earlier, it's a very tongue-in-cheek game, and some of the dialogue is just hilarious that you have. And since it has that point-and-click background, you can use objects or try to use objects on certain things and funny results will happen. And that's sort of the charm of the game, figuring out things and just trying different things. And even how the game, even when you die and you run out of life, the game still is unique because you can actually escape. Basically, you're put in a different death trap, and there's 5 different death traps, and you can escape from 4 of them. Unfortunately, the 5th one you cannot escape from, and that is game over. And that's probably the biggest flaw about Nightshade is the game over system, because there's no password system and there's no save system in the game. Now, once you get the game down, you could breeze through it pretty quickly, but if you're a first-time player and you're trying not to use a game fac or something, it's a long game, man, because there's a lot of trial and error, there's a lot of exploring, and there's a lot to see and a lot to do. So be prepared to have your NES on for extended periods of time. And the graphics of the game look great as well. The music is really well done, it's very catchy, and the city looks alive and well. Nightshade himself is kind of a weird brown color, I didn't really understand that. But other than that, all the characters look really well done, the animations are pretty smooth, and all the environments are really varied and detailed as well. So Nightshade is just an awesome game, and it's a game that I really slept on for many years because of that first scene. But once you figure out what type of game it is, once you see the quality of the game, it automatically becomes a must-own. It is definitely the most underrated game on the NES by far. I'm not even gonna say it's a hidden gem, I'm just gonna say it's underrated because it should easily be in a lot of YouTubers and gaming critics' top 10 NES games list. There's nothing quite like it on the NES, and it's quickly become one of my favorite games on the console. So you should definitely pick up a copy of Nightshade. At the time of this video, it goes for about $20 to $25, and it's well worth the purchase in my opinion. You're gonna get a lot of hours of fun from this game, and there's nothing quite like it on the system. Have you ever checked out Nightshade? What did you think about the game? Let me know in the comments section below, and if you plan to play this game, let me know that as well. Thank you for liking this video, and if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys next time. I'm gonna go play some more Nightshade. Later.